Greetings, savages. Welcome to another edition of the Refined Savage Podcast. Let's talk about some coffee. You like coffee? Everybody loves coffee. I was off it for like a month in the spring, and my whole world was worse. It was not a good time for me. And now I'm back in full swing, drinking coffee and eating meat daily. But the coffee that I drink and I love is from my boy Evan Armstrong and Viking Coffee. I get so irritated when I have to drink coffee that isn't Viking coffee because it's garbage, and all we get up here is Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. It's nuts. Viking Coffee is growing by leaps and bounds. They're in coffee shops all over the northern Ohio, Toledo area, and Evan Armstrong is the mastermind behind this coffee. VikingCoffeeCode.com. Try our Old Man Strength coffee. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Now, also, check out, he's got hats and mugs on sale on the website. They are all very smooth, and I like them. I think they're really sharp looking. So check that out at VikingCoffeeCode.com. Use the code VikingCoffee10 at checkout for 10% off. Cerberus Strength is the leader in strong man and Highland Games equipment. They are all over strongman. If you go to a strongman competition, you will see Cerberus Strength stuff everywhere. Sponsored athletes buying their gear, wearing their knee sleeves, wearing their elbow sleeves, sniffing that smelling salts. I would never sniff the smelling salts, but that's just me. I'm kind of a pussy. Cerberus-strength.us. Check out their indoor sandbags. I've been telling people about this. Their sandbags in general are awesome, but those indoor throwing bags are perfect for us Highland Games type people. Check them out. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE10 at checkout, all one word, lowercase, at checkout for 10% off. What do we have here? Warrior CBD. Warrior CBD. I keep telling people about CBD oil, and there's so many products out there now because people are jumping on the bandwagon. Warrior CBD was created by jiu-jitsu and MMA fighters to help with anxiety, to help sleep better, to help with joint pain. Here's something that happened to me the other day. So I've got this pinched nerve in my neck, radiating pain into my elbow. So I get this pain in my elbow that wakes me up at night. It's so painful. And I was in New Orleans and didn't bring my CBD oil with me, and it literally would wake me up all night long. Got home, first thing I did, put some CBD oil under my tongue, and it put me out, and I slept through the night for the first time in 3 nights. Man, I'm telling you, this stuff is a godsend. Check them out. You can either check them out on Instagram at Warrior CBD Official or go to their website, warriorcbdofficial.com. Use the code WARRIOR20 off at checkout. It's important you use these goddamn codes. People tell me, hey, I ordered from such and such a company. Did you use the code? No. Well, then they didn't know it came from this podcast. You like this podcast? Use the goddamn codes. Get on it, people. Warrior CBD Official. Also, check out the CBD for your pets. That is huge. Keep those little bastards under control in thunderstorms and fireworks and all that kind of good stuff. SeriousSteel.com. Serious Steel is the place to go if you're looking to outfit anything. If you've got a gym you need to outfit, if your garage gym needs something, you just need a piece of equipment that you've been looking at and going around the internet checking prices. Check out SeriousSteel.com, and you'll probably get it at a better price, and the customer service is out of this world. They're just good people, man. You got to check them out. I shit you not, just really nice people. Chad Clark's involved. Anything Chad Clark's involved in, you know, is going to be filled with good people. So SeriousSteel.com, use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. Stay Classy Meats is the greatest goddamn invention in the history of mankind. I don't feel any regret in saying that. This is a company that goes to small batch farms in Montana. They get to see these animals grazing majestically out on the pastures, bison and elk and pigs and cows and chickens, and they're out there, and then they turn them into some of the best meat you've ever goddamn tasted. They are out there munching on Montana grass and fresh mountain streams, and they are treated humanely. They are butchered humanely. There's no hormones. I'm telling you, the meat just tastes better. When I first got a sponsorship from Stay Classy Meats, I was like, all right, well, it's free meat. You know, what the fuck? As soon as I got the stuff, you could taste the difference. You taste the difference. The bison is like my new favorite thing on the planet. I could eat their bison ribeyes every night of my life, and I would be a happy man. So Check them out. I urge you, do the build your own box first. Text me. I answer PMs. Slide into my DMs, ask me questions. I'll tell you exactly what to buy or exactly what my favorites are. And try that first. If you like it, move up a box. It's not that expensive. You're buying meat in bulk, so it's not that bad at all. Check them out, and if you use the code SAVAGE at checkout, you get 10% off. StayClassyMeats.com. Iron and Stone Strength. Iron and Stone is a gym and apparel company just outside of Buffalo, New York, and they are great people. Eric and his family up there are just great people, and their tribe of lifters up there are doing some amazing things. Their Instagram page is awesome. Go give them a follow. Check out their gear. They've got some incredible t-shirts, great hats, sweatshirts, sweatpants, the whole 9 yards, everything you could need. I love their gear. Ordered a t-shirt last week and couldn't be happier. So check them out. I urge you. Refined Savage at checkout for 20% off. And finally today on the show, Rody Sport. Justin Rody, 2012 Olympian and professional shot putter. He is here in Ohio, and he's making the shot put glove. The shot put glove is like a glove you put on, and it kind of supports your fingers when you throw the shot or heavy stones. It's really good. If you ever had your fingers snapped back, you can tell that hurts like you can't believe. And this keeps your fingers and hand healthy for lots of high volume throwing. You got to check it out. He also makes the closed loop lifting straps made out of leather, and they're engraved, and they're just sweet looking, and they work really well. You break these things in, and you'll never want to use a different kind of lifting strap ever after you use the Rody lifting straps. They're just awesome. I've got a pair here. Couldn't be happier with them. He's also bringing the Jolly Big Throws Clinic this holiday season to Youngstown State University, December 21st, 2019, hosted by Rody Sport. He's bringing in coaches and athletes from all over the country for a day of sharing knowledge and cutting-edge throwing practice. Heralded as the ultimate meet, greet, learn by do, and immersive throwing camp. You can get an exclusive swag bag with an early bird registration at rodysport.com through October 31st. And he told me the other day that spots are starting to fill up, so people are jumping on it this early. I suggest you do the same. Get on that shit. Use the code SAVAGESPORT, all capitals, one word, Savage Sport, for 20% off products and lectures at rodysport.com. RODHESPORT.com. That's a hard one to spell, so make sure you do that right. All right, who do we have on the show today? Very cool interview with the one, the only, the king, Reggie Jagers. Reggie is a awesome discus thrower, one of the best in the United States right now. He, in my opinion, is probably going to be on the Olympic team and probably got a shot at making the finals, maybe even winning a medal. You never know, but we sat down. This guy is an athletic machine. Looks like he was carved out of granite. Came in and sat in my studio, and we had a long conversation, and it was a good one about sports and life in general. And I couldn't be happier with the way this turned out. So what I want you to do, share with your friends. Tell them about the podcast. Share this one with Reggie Jagers, and we'll see you at the end. Yeah, we were just, Reggie's in the studio. We were just, Hayden and I were analyzing your throw, and it might be a good place to start. Right where we stopped it, you have a different kind of release than what I'm used to. So you're super level coming out of the back, and then it almost seems like you drop it down towards the left knee and then up. Is that something you do on purpose or something you've developed?
I would say over the years, I'm left-handed, so my technique is a little bit different. If you think about lefties, we're not going to be like pretty much super conventional compared to a right-handed person.
Right.
I'm my only reference with technique. If you think about it,
yeah,
you've never really seen anybody go on the left side and spin the opposite way. So now I have the left-handed world record. But I'll also study other lefties. Like, I don't know if you know Stephen Fernholm from Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
He was a big guy that actually wanted to try for the NFL as well. He ran like a 4.3. Yeah, like a.
You remember him on? I don't know if you're old enough to remember him on the old BFS posters.
No, so I didn't remember him. But like whenever I go to Sweden or over to Europe, they see a lefty like, oh, Stephen Fernholm. Do you know him? I'm like, yes, I know. I did my research. But yeah. So if you're your only reference, you don't really have maybe even the eye on you to see that the angles might be different. So I do a lot of stuff with feeling. So I'll feel out how the throw feels on my body, how the pressure feels, how to like convert the energy from the back of the ring to the front of the ring. I'm a pretty fast thrower, so kind of like I want to use Stefan Fernholm and like his athletic feats as well to make it go further. So I saw that he was actually on performance enhancing drugs. That's that's what he passed away from. So I'm like, if I could, and I'm like, he only threw 68.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, he should have threw further. But you know, just utilizing my tools. So if I bring my hand down a little bit, I would say I've only been throwing for 6 years. So if you think about, I'm competing against people in Europe who've been throwing for 15 years.
Yeah.
So the timing and technique is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be my own twist on it and how I can get that plus 15 years of training into a 6-year window. So you're going to have to shortcut on certain things. But you know, I'm diligent and I work hard. So pretty much in discus, if you keep tension on the implement and you keep turning, then if you drop your arm, I can kind of use it to get a higher orbit as well. So
that's one of the things we were talking about, and here I'm talking about this with my 14-year-old son, who you know, he's a technique junkie, and we're just trying to figure out. We were just trying to figure that out. You know, what you were thinking as you released it that way, and I mean, obviously you get some torque on that thing when it comes out of your hand. It's pretty impressive, and you pull it all the way across. So the finish is fantastic. But that's what we were doing, just watching some technique videos. You know, I remember when I was a kid, there used to be these BFS posters with Stefan Fernholm on it, and all these crazy athletic things he did, and he had these gigantic thighs, and it was the older guys my age will remember those posters, but you know, and then I didn't even realize what kind of discus thrower was until later on in life. You know, when I started getting into the throws. But yeah, there isn't too many left-handers out there. Not
at all. I would say it's me and Travis Michael currently. He's also, I want to say, top 12 in the world. I'm top 8. So you see, it's becoming more prevalent. He actually was around before I was. So I guess you could say he was more of a pioneer. He's around 28 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 20. I just turned 25 August 13th. So I'm getting up there in years now too. So,
yeah, you're ancient.
Right. People ask me, do I have gray hairs now? I'm like, oh my God, halfway to 50.
Well, you know what though? I mean, Mac Wilkins was 40 when he won the gold medal. So you got a long time ahead of you.
Yeah. And he, I'm kind of thinking about going more over to Europe and doing camps in different areas, kind of how he did.
Yeah.
He was with Wolfgang, and they kind of worked together to make sure that their careers went to the next level too. So
those guys were struggling, and they had to find ways just to survive. I mean, there was nothing. We were just talking about social media making it a little bit easier for you guys, but you know, it's not. It's never going to be LeBron money, especially for the throwers, you know, and that's tough. I was watching a news clip of you last night, and I think it was from 2018, maybe, from one of the local Cleveland shows, talking about, well, you've heard of LeBron, you've heard of these guys. It was funny because I don't know, other than LeBron, who you have to know, I didn't know any of these other guys because I don't follow sports that much. But it's like, it's so different what worlds we come out of, because those other guys, some guy played for the Bears and another guy played for the Chiefs, and I don't know who any of those guys were, but I knew who you were. You know, it's just a matter of what you're interested in. But
I realize it's more of like a niche audience, so people's influence, it could be so large that you know them, and that's pretty much where LeBron, he's like more of a global icon, so more people around the world would know him. Like if I go to Europe and people ask me, where are you from? I'm like, Cleveland. They kind of think about it like, Cleveland, where is that? I'm like, Ohio. They're like, so I'll do like the LeBron, pat my chest, push the ground, oh, LeBron James, you're from there.
Well, do you have thoughts, speaking of being a global icon kind of thing, I mean, you're a big, athletic, good-looking guy. Do you have thoughts of maybe doing something else when you get out of discus throwing? I mean, you're out in California, you know?
Yeah, well, I would say my last year at Kent State, I was in the Kent State commercial for like our whole school, and that aired like pretty much regionally and around the U.S. Forgot around what time it happened. But that was like my first take into like get into TV.
Yeah.
I've thought about that too. So that's why I've been on more podcasts this year and just trying to get around and get out there, get my name out there. The bigger your name is, I feel like the more recognizable your face would be.
Yep.
So that's why you saw me do Channel 19, Channel 5, and Channel 8 down in December when you checked it out. So I want to get into Cleveland first. Probably hire like a manager because your agent, they're going to get you into big level meets, but they won't really help you inside of your hometown and your city, and get more recognition that way. I'm from Solon, Ohio as well, so I've been in the Solon paper like numerous times. So you started to become a face in your community, and then you could eventually kind of expand out. So I'm doing also in Chula Vista as well. So if you think about it, where your audience is, you have the Cleveland audience, then you have the Chula Vista, San Diego audience, and then I went to World University Games in Taiwan. You have that audience, so it's kind of like even overseas, where people will pay big money just to talk to you. So when I made the World University team, I was under with Carl Lewis. He was like, Reggie, make sure you maximize what you're doing in China because they'll actually pay the big bucks for you. So when I was on a few interviews on TV, and they would just like take you out, give you money. Like it's kind of just in their ingrained in their culture that athletes are kind of on the top. So I would say in America, you have so many influences of different sports, where football, basketball, soccer, whereas when we were at the Pan American Games and then in Europe, track and field is going to be on every station. So I'll literally walk around in Peru and people be like, oh yeah, I saw you, I know you. So that's where you can really use your name and your brand when you're actually being shown on TV. So I was actually happy that they showed us on ESPN. I would say for the Olympics, they usually go to NBC Gold, and that's kind of like a iffy situation because you have to purchase NBC Gold.
I've never even heard of that.
Exactly. So if you don't purchase NBC Gold, then you won't see track and field athletes. So that's why I love that we were able to go to ESPN with the Pan American Games, because just like people recognize you off of just having that channel because they're already watching football, they're already watching basketball. I remember on ESPN I saw the beer pong championships, and they're getting $200K to win. And they had the guy from Let's Get Ready to Rumble. Him announcing. I'm like,
Michael Buffer.
I'm like, why do they not do this in track and field? You know, if you just put us on ESPN, if you put beer pong on here and they're getting the exposure, imagine if you actually put track on here on a normal basis.
I think the way they needed to do it, and I've always said this with the throws especially, is one of the best throws competitions I ever saw was 2000 in Athens, when they did it they did the shot put in the actual Olympic stadium. So they put them in this incredible venue, and these guys are throwing in this 1,000-year-old stadium, and it was just amazing. Or some of these shot put competitions where they do it in like a downtown German city or something, they can do that with discus, and that's where the money is, because you don't want to be just showing your event you don't want to be preaching to the choir. If you're showing discus to me, I'm already in, man. I'm going to buy this ticket. You want to pull the guy in who is watching pro wrestling. It's like, oh wait, these guys are jacked too. I can watch them, and it's pretty cool,
I remember when I threw weight throw indoors, me and Fang would train it probably once a week. So if you think about like a hammer weight thrower, I probably had as much training as they would in a week in my full season. And I remember when you're throwing the weight and they're like hitting the last barrier at 73 feet. And I remember somebody telling me it was like a WWE match with ladders, chairs, and tables, because you're just like going off. So there was a way that the TV station could capture that, and I feel like we would, expand to a different audience. Even at the U.S. Championships last year, I was sitting by the finish line, and they had the shot put going on. You could hear people, they were there for the 5K, and they're just a different type of track fan. You could just hear them saying, oh, that's a shot put over there?
Right.
Oh, my God, it's pretty who's the guy over there? Like, you could see they were inquiring, and they were actually interested. But I kind of feel like the TV companies, they would love to show the 10K every lap of the 10K step, and only show the winner of shot put and discus and weight throw and hammer. It's kind of like you have to win the meet to even get any type of exposure, which, you win the meet, obviously you earn it, but I feel like they should show the competition and maybe even put like a smaller segment on the same screen and kind of minimize it where you can still see what's going on. So.
My son started in the 6th grade, and he watched his first track meet on TV. So the poor kid, I was on vacation somewhere, and he sits down in front of the track, in front of the TV to watch track, and he watches the whole meet. And then he shoots me a text, and he said, Dad, I watched that for 2 hours, and they showed 15 seconds of the throws. I said, man, boy, welcome to track and field. That's what you're going to get. And it's crazy that TV executives decide what people want to see, and that pushes the whole sport.
Yeah. So I know you know Daniil Thomas. When we were in Peru, they showed me a good amount on the TV because I feel like I was an American. And I don't know, it could be like American based as well. And I was in second place for most of the meet too. But for her, their whole competition on the last round, the top 3 girls went over 19 meters.
Wow.
But they're also showing the 10K.
Yeah.
So literally, they show her first round throw. She opens up at like 19 meters, I believe. So once you know someone does that, you should probably like follow the camera. Like, okay, things are about to turn up and get crazy. But then they went to the 10K, and they went to the 5K, and then they're running around the race. And you see at the last lap, that's when you actually see like who's actually going to win. So they're showing the whole race. They're commentating. They're kind of dry.
Right.
I feel like you kind of need announcers who know the people in the field as well. So they're kind of just reading off stats. They don't really know these guys. They're kind of like and you kind of could just tell that it's not really a priority. And then when they switch back over, you get Daniil Thomas winning on the last round. I'm like, we wanted to see a whole competition.
Right. And they don't even show. They'll show her moving out of the back. Like, she's already mid-throw by the time they started.
I'm like, we want to see her cadence, how she... Because Daniil does a little pause at the beginning. Like, everybody's a little different.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that shows who you are characteristically in your technique as well.
Yeah. When I was learning how to glide in high school, and I didn't have a coach, I had a video of Mike Stoltz on VHS, and I'd have to play it, watch Mike throw, and then rewind it and watch it again, and rewind it, watch it again, and it was just such. Now, you watch the same YouTube video over and over again, but and it was such bad TV footage,
but it's kind of better than the footage is now, because you actually had TV footage of them in the championships at the biggest meets, and it was kind of like prime time where you could tell that they just segmented over from probably Carl Lewis doing whatever he was doing, and then you could see like, okay, this is what the film looked like then. We actually have a view of him.
It was cool because they had this was 1990, was it 90 or 92? I can't remember, 92 Olympics or whatever. I don't know. Right around that time, because I was in high school still, but they had this thing, and it was like really legitimately the first on-demand TV. So they had the Olympic triple cast.
Okay.
So you could kind of pick which events you wanted to watch, and they give you a package. So you could watch the shot put, and then women's rhythmic gymnastics and something else. So you had to watch the shit, but you didn't have to watch as much shit, and you at least were going to get the whole shot put competition. And but that was like the beginning of on-demand television. But it's nice though now that you guys have social media, and you can use your star power through things other than just throwing the discus. Are you a personality? Do you do other things other than the discus? You can put all that stuff out there, and I'm sure you have a ton of people following you on Instagram that don't know anything about the discus.
Yeah. You just I kind of think of the saying, you make a non-believer a believer, because even at the U.S. Championships last year, I remember people. They might not even know who you are. You come out of nowhere, and then obviously you're a household name, and people start to follow you, and then you put good content out there.
Yeah.
So now people are like, oh, I like track and field, or this, that, and the third, and you kind of expand your own sport. So I feel like in track and field, you kind of need the top dogs and the shot put, discus, and the weight throwing, the hammer, and the javelin to kind of put themselves out there so that we can actually further the sport.
Yeah.
So. I would say like probably one of the highest guys with social media and a following, so people only know of Ryan Krauser, Darrell Hill, and me basically. And when you go to Europe, it's like now you become an even bigger name, because in Europe they really worship track and field as well. It's kind of like the primetime sports over there. So I feel like if you just maximize what you're doing, it can go a long way, but it's definitely not going to be on the wave of LeBron James yet.
Right.
So I ended up getting Cleveland Collegiate Athlete of the Year award, and that was like, I could actually use that. So the more accolades you even get from your city, it can help you in that way too.
Yeah.
So you just got to maximize what you're doing. You can't. I would say our strength coach in Chula Vista, he told me that he was like, Reggie really likes to maximize his potential, his opportunities, and that's what life is all about.
Yeah.
If you have opportunity in front of you, you got to kind of take it and take hold of it and groom it and use it to the best of your abilities. So
it's a great attitude to have, because there's so many people that takes years and years and years for them to figure out, and opportunities are few and far between. You got to jump on them as soon as they happen.
Yeah. So there's like a saying, like if you look for problems, you'll have more problems. If you look for solutions, you'll have opportunities. And that's kind of been my life mindset. So if I come in contact with someone who has more Like I met Josh Cribbs a few weeks ago. He became my mentor. Met James Harrison a few weeks ago.
I always liked Josh Cribbs, man.
They're Kent State alums.
Yeah.
Met Sway Lee. He's in the hip hop, one of the top guys at the same age as me. So if you just kind of branch out, you can kind of broaden your horizon, because athletes like to be around athletes. You meet the Browns players. They're intrigued with what you do, even though they're getting paid the millions. So,
but they figure out real quick. Real recognizes real. They can tell you've got all those athletic skills that if you would have went another direction could have been on playing linebacker somewhere.
Well, I would say, because even when I worked for Kent State in strength and conditioning, we would have the recruits come in and the NFL scouts, and they would see me, and they're like, I'm in the meeting, and they're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, I do track and field. Like, all right, when you're done with track and field, here's my card. So I would say after the 2020 Olympics, I want to branch to the NFL as well.
You didn't give it a shot?
Yeah, well,
that's amazing.
If you see my videos online with sprinting, I like to kind of be self-disciplined, and I've had NFL scouts tell me, like, track and field is a different mindset, and they would love to have it on their team. If you think about it, it's all self-motivation. So every day, I was listening to E.T. Eric Thomas this morning on the way here. It's like no one has to tell me to practice. Like, I'm going to do that regardless. So if a coach checks in with me, oh, did you practice? They don't even have to check in with me. They know I'm going to get out there, I'm going to get my body going, I'm going to attack it in the smart way. I would say 2 years ago, I started my own throwing program. So leaving Kent State, I knew me and Fanger, he developed me and Daniil Thomas to be super independent. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to a foreign environment at the Olympic Training Center. Let me make sure I have all my ducks in a row. Let me think of a strategy so that I can further my throwing and end up, I think, what was it, 6 meters on top of what I did at NCAAs, the NCAA runner-up. So I knew in college that there was a lot of potential I was leaving on the table, but staying up late studying. Even not even eating healthy. Maybe not watching film every day of the week. You might watch it twice a week, so you're kind of disconnected in the mind. So I just was aware of my flaws and just tried to, change them.
I talk about, and my wife actually coined the phrase making your discipline motivation, or making your discipline operational, and having a outlet for all that discipline and being able to focus it on a specific task. We have, I've got this text thread I've got going with, we talked about Kibwe down in Florida. And do you know Kyle Cannell from Kent State? He was a wrestler. He took second. So he's on there, and a bunch of other guys. And it's just a way for us, all these guys that are just super disciplined and super motivated, and every once in a while someone checks in. Everybody's staying hard. Everybody doing their thing. What are you doing today?
That group to like uprise and kind of bring you together. Make sure you guys are. I have that same group, so I had to change my friend group up too, from like my Cleveland group to kind of people. They're kind of more spread out, but they're also like going to hold you accountable. They're also striving to have upward mobility. So they might see you in the light, like it's like you're the athlete. They might be the mind. I like to be both the athlete and the mind. So you combine it with another mind, a guy who's good at marketing, and then you can kind of just like bring yourself up with like a good team. If you think about LeBron and all the top people, they all have a really good team around them. I would say this past year my father passed away, so that was kind of like a big thing with I've always had the outlet of putting my emotions into track and field. I always put my heart on my sleeve. So even in those 3 weeks that came after, I threw 70 meters probably 4 times in practice. So if you think about it, no America has done that before, and I realized that if you can kind of put your emotions in the area and focus and kind of like I went numb on the emotional side, but then it all went to the discus. So it was actually a good thing. It was also therapeutic, relieving. I kind of I felt empty, but like if you get out there and grind, have the saying in my phone, nobody cares, work harder. So I had to go to my first Diamond League on Father's Day. So you have to realize that none of the top 10 competitors really care that your father passed away. They might be sad, but they're not really going to give an easy competition just because of that. So you have to think about it in the real world, and no one's going to coddle you and kind of just move on and put it all into the discus. So I'll scream on every throw. I'll get the clap going, get the crowd going, because I'm really trying to put on the show. I'm trying to get my emotions going and bring the best out of myself.
I think people don't understand when you've been in high level athletics, you've done it for so long that it becomes this therapeutic, meditative state when you're really getting after it, and you're able to take all those emotions and feelings and the good and the bad and push it into this one thing that you know how to do on autopilot. But now you've got just this little extra oomph that takes you from 68 over 70 meters, you know, and it's something that I think you learn to channel over years and years and years, and it's hard for, like, for instance, when my son throws, even if it's a major thing where he has to throw far to win, I don't give him that yet, because I don't give him that you have to get this throw because he'll break. Yeah. You know, he doesn't know how to channel that yet.
Yeah, because there's E.T. was saying this morning, he was like, what happens when you give your all and you still fail?
Yeah.
That's a part of life too. Yep. So you have to learn how to kind of build yourself back, have a strong mind, be positive, stuff like that. And your son's a young kid, so he's not going to have those tools in his wheel box yet. But as a father, you know, you're grooming him to kind of develop those qualities.
Yeah, just trying to not step on the gas too much and let him learn.
Yeah, I know plenty of parents who are probably overbearing. So I was telling you how I started track at the end of my junior year, so I haven't really been doing it long. But at the same time, my mom, she didn't really know about track, so she was kind of like, I was kind of handling my own business and doing my own thing in a different sport. Obviously, from where I come from, most people go to NFL and NBA, coming from inner city Cleveland. So they saw it as a different outlook. But once I started making more teams, they started getting more engaged. And then now my mom, she's actually pretty like, come on, Reg, you gotta, boom, boom, boom. She sees what's on the table. And
get that left foot turning.
I'm like, Mom, you have you know nothing about track and field. I'm like, just give me the emotional support.
Right.
I don't need you to be like badgering me.
My father used to do that. He used to coach me. I'm like, you never thrown anything in your life.
Like, you heard one cue, now you're trying to give it to me over and over and over. I'm just like,
you gotta love them. They're trying.
You just tell they're trying to do their best, but I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, just give me a hug after I'm done. Like, that's all.
So did you go to Solon High School?
Yeah.
So how'd you get into track?
So actually, it was in the I want to say the Cleveland Plain Diller. I don't know if you know Nathan Hoff. He was our 6'1", 340-pound defensive tackle / right guard. He was actually a big motivational factor. I had AJ Hicks, who went to Solon, and he threw 200 feet in a discus on his last throw at state.
Wow.
So he's been doing track probably at that time 6 years.
Yeah.
So he started in I want to say 7th grade and went all the way till senior year. I started junior year, and I was trying to catch his record in a year and a half while doing football and wrestling. So at that time, I think I threw 195. I was 5 feet off. So that was kind of, that was kind of a bittersweet moment, but I would say my college career took off and everything else after that. But I wasn't able to get the Solon school record. So that was the funny part. But so they're going to put my jersey up in the school for the pro section, but I won't be on the school record section. Yeah, that's kind of the weird part, because I was walking around the school a few weeks ago. And I was like, where's your picture? I'm like, I mean, I was good. I started for a few months, so I threw really far, but when you think about someone competing for 4 years, obviously you can
200 feet is insane too for a high school kid.
But I would say I started doing track and field during the indoor season of football, where you're lifting, you're getting strong, and I would always just look out the window and I could see the throwers on the infield, and they were throwing, and I'm one of those guys where I'm like, I can do that. I can do whatever I put my mind to. So I would say I kind of mimicked. I was watching them for probably, I want to say a month, just watching them, seeing what they're doing. I would lift, go to the window, check them out, boom, boom, boom. I could throw a football 80 yards, so I don't know if you know that.
No.
Projectiles are my thing. That's why when you say your hand drops, I've always been the guy to find a good release, and I can just kind of pinpoint and kind of drop a dime, I would say, in the sector wherever I wanted to go. So that being said, I just wanted to do something that you could throw and implement. I'm like, I feel like I can do that. If I can throw a football, I can do this. Being a left-handed, I should have played baseball. That's the one thing.
Yeah,
definitely should have played baseball. I've had MLB guys from the Padres say, you should try it out. But I know in the back of my head, baseball is kind of like a sport where you need to do it for a long time.
Yeah,
memory. But I don't really know what my future entails in different sports. But I would say it was because of Nate Hoff. I was in the indoor facility lifting for football. I'm sitting next to Nate at this point, so you can see we're looking through the window now together. He did track and field. He was doing track and field, but he was kind of the top athlete, so he could go do football and not even do track. And they would just be like, all right, just come over after when you're done. High school is a little bit more laid back. So I have him quoted in the paper. He was like, hey, Reggie, man, you probably wouldn't even be good at it. Just let track go and just live for football and, get a scholarship just in the third. And those are also on my mind as well, but I feel like the fact that he said, no, you probably wouldn't be good at it, that's what made me walk out there the next day. So we're basically, I'm talking to the coach like, hey, can I try out for the team? Like right in front of all the guys.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, do a throw. Let's see what you got. My throw went further than all of their throws went in the 4 years that they were doing checkers.
Right.
So I think my first throw that day was like 140. And the coach was like, all right, we're signing you up.
He's got dollar signs in his eyes.
We're signing you up. We still have AJ Hicks as a senior. So he's throwing around, at this time, maybe 175, 180. And you have me throwing 140.
Nice 140 is a nice backup.
On my first throw.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of training that year. And my first year, I went to 160. The next year after that, I went to 190. So you see the potential progress was very high. And I remember trying to get into different schools. And with the throw of 195, a school would kind of be apprehensive on the paper of seeing that throw, even though it still was probably a top 10 throw in the U.S. at the time. But Coach Fanger, he saw me at an indoor shot put meet throwing 53 feet. And I just started picking up shot put 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So he saw a lot of potential. When I went over to Akron to ask about scholarship money, he didn't see the potential. He was like, well, I can't get scholarship money if you're throwing 195. Fang's over there like, you're throwing 195. You just started 6
You're
months
making
ago.
me laugh, and I can't even say why I'm laughing. We'll talk later.
So you got people like, I also knew my value and my worth. So I'm like, if Fang said I'm going to give you a free ride, I'm coming from inner city school. My mom told me, there's no scholarship money for you. Like, I can't pay for school.
Yep.
So I was just like, all right, I guess me and Fang, we're going to ride it out. We talked for an hour when he saw me throwing. So that's how I knew he was interested and like kind of like, how Fang talks. He's pretty excited. Yeah. So I knew he was a good guy, good character. So I'm like, all right, let's shoot it up with Kent State, see what's going on.
When Adrienne Blewett was, she graduated from Ashland and became the throws coach at Tiffin, we were talking about recruiting and everything, and Judd at Ashland's going to get all the kids, because they all want to go throw for Judd. And I'm like, look, this is what you do. You go to the inner city school meets, or you go to these hick farm meets. Either one of them are going to have throws coaches, and you look for the kid who's 6'3" and is throwing these monster throws for having the shittiest technique you could look for. I go, that's your kid, because you'll fix his technique.
Man. So the crazy part with social media, so I pretty much, like, my throws coach in high school, he was cool and all, but he'll tell you himself, he was like, Reggie was out there when I wasn't out there. He was watching film, he was watching YouTube. I used YouTube a lot to coach myself. So if you think about it, coming out, and now you see kids in school now, and their technique is perfect in 2019. Yeah. So I'm like coaching kids. People send me videos all the time online. I'll try to help as much as I can. I'm just like, their technique is almost already maxed out. And if you think about, if you watch my throw versus their throw, so you're throwing the same distance, or even they're probably throwing 30 feet less, but still it's looking perfect. And I'm like, I see how a coach could say, there's nothing I can really do with this because he's already at the max. Only thing I could probably do is make him stronger. Yep. So I'll say Judd, he does an amazing job with making people stronger. I would say he's getting the D2 athletes, and they're able to maximize their strength, and they're able to compete with the Division I people. So in that aspect, I'm like, you got to pay homage to Ashland. Yeah. Like, I remember, I think I was doing track for a year, and that's when I made the Junior Pan Am team. And the guy I was going against was one of Ashland's recruits. Right. So Judd's there. He's talking about, like, this is my boy. I think his name is Zion or Azan. This is my boy. He's throwing discus. We were, like, right around the same mark. And I'm left-handed as well. We're at the U.S. Junior Championships, and it's a strong right-handed wind. Yeah, so I'm out there trying to throw my hardest. And that's when I actually got a taste of the wind as well, starting to see that it's going to take meters off of my throw. Yeah. So I'm throwing that, squeak into making the U.S. team, placing second. The guy, Hayden Reed from Alabama, plays first. And you see a guy who schools didn't even want to take a chance on. Right. I'm in the top with the Alabama guy. And now you got, schools looking at me like, why didn't we recruit him? Also, throughout my college years, now they're trying to recruit me this, that, and the third. But I just stayed home with Fang, knowing that he was a guy who saw potential in me first. Yep. And you can go to a bigger school, but you might, like, they might not care about you. Fang's from Montana. Yep. He has, like, values as a man. Yeah. So I feel like, those things go far away in track and field, and even grooming you as a man.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm dealing with a situation with a coach around here who, is God love him, he's trying to win, but he's not doing the things that I would expect from a leader, So I had to have a talk with him, and at this level, at the high school level, that's what you're trying to instill in these kids is, the athletics are going to come. The cream's always going to rise to the top, but you want these people who you can put some faith in. If you're an athlete, you want to be able to put faith in that coach all the time, that they're going to do the right thing no matter what. Yeah. That they have a little bit of vision. When someone looks at you as a 195-foot thrower and can't see what you could become if you've only been throwing for a year and a half, what the fuck? There's something wrong with you.
Yeah, he watched me all. So if you think about Kent State versus Akron rivalry, he pretty much watched me pretty much single-handedly take his team out every week after week. All my records are at Akron. Yeah. I remember when I broke the indoor facility record. They have a net out at 192. He didn't want to bring the net back to 200 where I was throwing, so I'm throwing 4 feet up into the net. Well, once I got the record, he didn't want me to keep progressing the record because I was in Akron. Now people were like, "Hey, we heard you hit the net. You're the first guy to ever hit the net ever in Akron history." Right. So he just was trying to be like a roadblock, and in my mind, I'm just like, hey, I actually came to you first. I came to you first. Akron was a cool school, this, that, and third, but you didn't decide to pick me. So now I'm going to put, I'm going to keep turning up in your stadium, get all the records. You could be bitter about it, but I'm just going to do me. Now. Yeah, being fake right now, just dropping bombs.
That's being able to channel that into that throw. That we talked about earlier.
Well, imagine if I would listen to him and thought of myself as I'm just a 195-foot thrower. I don't deserve scholarship money. If you think about the psyche and how you see yourself as being even when Mike Tyson was an athlete, he felt like he could beat anybody. Muhammad Ali, he thought he was the greatest before he was. That's kind of the same mindset with me. So imagine if the person grooming you, they're trying to get you to come to their school, but they don't even they're like, oh well, we don't have scholarship money because you throw this. So imagine what that's instilling in you.
To me, that's a lack of confidence that you can't take anybody further. Yeah. Now, if you come to me, I consider myself a decent throws coach, but I might not be able to get anything out of a 195-foot discus thrower because I just don't know enough, But you got to be honest with yourself at that point. And that's. I can't imagine that. But hey, more power to Fang. He's a good dude, and he's. I feel like he's finally reaping the benefits of towing the line and setting that standard for all these years. He's getting these kids from Jamaica who are fucking studs, and
he started recruiting, kind of going out of his box. That's a good. That means you're expanding and growing as a person. Yeah, so you always love to see it. If you think about, I'm from Cleveland. I think Matthias was from Youngstown. Then it was all the way from Jamaica. So you have people from all walks of life, and you came in and you had probably the best class that Kent State's ever had in throwing, next to Judd Logan in his time as well. Yeah. But you just have guys competing and they're doing well. I would say also Judd Logan's athletes actually pushed me too, because when I came in with Zahn, and I was a guy who made it over him, I threw probably an inch further or whatever. Right. And I remember all through college, I'm also competing, looking over, because Ashton's kind of our rival too. We see him at every meet, and they have the guys that are strong as ever, and they're throwing the weight throw, and I'm trying to get better, so I'm throwing the weight throw as well. Yeah. You have Zahn push me behind me, so if there's someone behind you lighting the fire, you can keep it elevating and going. Yeah. So I know they had a good team, so I had to be sharp as well. You're going against the Akron people, you got the motivation of, all these schools looked over me, this, and the third. There's a guy here, he's still looking over me, or he's kind of so if you think about track and field, if you get the clap going, everybody's clapping with one person, you kind of know. It's
one guy's got his hands in his pockets.
Right. It's the same look, and I'll kind of look at him, get the clap going. It's kind of like a power struggle. It's kind of I feed off of that too. So
I remember, and I love Fang. I've always liked that dude. I think he's fantastic. And I remember, and I don't even know if they still do this or not, but years ago, Judd would send a bunch of his kids over to learn the javelin, and then Fang would send a bunch of his kids over to learn the weight, and they would just kind of trade off. And who does that? Those are two guys with a lot of confidence in themselves.
Well, I said people grow now too, because now this past year, Judd, he sent people over to me. So I came back over in the winter time over at Kent State, where I like to do a little winter tune-up, I would say, in Ohio, get to be with my family instead of being out in Chula Vista. And he was like, all right, Reggie, here's my discus thrower. So you throw, you do what you're doing, you give him a little critique. I'm like, all right, that's cool. We're gonna hangs back we did. I'm
gonna have to, next time you get home, I'm gonna get Hayden out with you and throw a little bit. But,
I throw. I don't know if you know Evan Johnson. He just committed to Ohio State. I throw with him. He's from Solon as well. So I'm always loving to get out there with
in the
young
water
guys.
in Solon that gets all these discus throwers?
So with Evan, it was kind of like my thing too. The reason why I feel like my freshman year, you always get someone that's bigger than you that gives you the vision that you could be even better.
Yeah.
So my freshman year, me and Fang in our school went to Virginia for a spring break, and I met Hassan Haddadi.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a silver medalist at the 2012 Olympics. And if you see somebody like that, he was bigger than life. He was throwing a 3K, 180 feet. So I'm like over here like, wow, just immaculate. Like I'm looking at this like, this is what I want to do. I can get myself a gold medal if I work hard. I see he's around the same stature as me. I'm like, there's no reason why I can't do it as well. So that was my guy. Now actually I train with him out in Chula Vista, and we're like best friends now. So you think about it, he's more of my mentor too. That's the crazy part, because he's from Iran. If you know government relations with Iran over there, it's not the greatest. So you see us online, we're taking pictures together, we're in the media, they're saying like America's getting along with Iran. We're kind of like doing like a little social justice type thing. Or
that's the thing, is if you got these 60-year-old men out of the way, all of us could get along just fine if it wasn't for government bullshit.
That's what is it? Joe Rogan was on a podcast talking about how pretty much the world changes when the old guys die.
When they die,
so that's pretty much the truth, because you'll see like through different generations you get along with people different ways. So by us and my generation actually going to college, it's kind of even culturally we're brought closer together. So,
I mean you don't just. You would think the way that the media portrays it, that anytime you meet someone from Iran or China or Russia, you should be, automatically enemies with them. We've had her on the show a bunch of times, Alina Wenzel. Alina is married to a good friend of mine, and she was born above the Arctic Circle in Russia. Mm-hmm. And here's the most mild-mannered, well-spoken, beautiful woman, and it's like, how am I supposed to just not like this person because she comes from a different border on some map? You know, it drives me nuts, and I think it's absolutely right. I think as these old people start to die out, and you start to, and this is another thing, is the cell phones, for as much evil and waste of time as they are, we're all connected now, and we can talk and see each other, and we realize that just because you're from Iran, you're still a carbon-based life form that is underneath the skin is absolutely the same as everybody else.
You just got a little accent. That's about it. I mean, you got strong dark hair. That's about. So I would say that's more propaganda, and I started to kind of dig into that, because I realized whenever someone tells you something bad about someone else, I feel like they're either trying to sway you from them, because maybe that person is just a great person. Think about it, in the Middle East, they have all the oil money, they're prospering on the business side, they're able to come to America and pretty much elevate their whole families from nothing to something with a business plan. They own a lot of
work, they bust their ass.
Right, they own all the corner stores and gas stations, and it's actually a formula. So I was talking to Haddadi about it. He was just telling me how easy the formula is to make money in America. I didn't think about it, how business orientated they are being brought up through their families. So if you think about how he was talking about like real estate, and how you have tenants in your house, boom, 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 and how you can pay for the rent in a month or this, that, and the third. And I'm like, how did you even know that you just came from Iran? He was like, oh yeah, this is what our family does all the time, blah, blah, blah. So I learned from him on the technique side, I learned from him on how to be a better person. He's an honest person. So if you think about it, I'm like, why would another country or America even tell me not to be friends with these people? Right. So I realized that they're probably special people as well. So you go to Russia, you see all walks of life in track and field, especially the big meets. You realize that these people, like, they're kind of looking at you a different way. You're looking at them a different way. It's the elephant in the room. But the minute you talk, or the minute you throw a discus together, it brings you all together, and you can kind of just communicate. And even talking to the German athletes, where I might have heard something bad about them in the past, and I meet them and they're the complete opposite. So I'm like, you should really do your own research. You should really not really look to social media to make your own opinions, because obviously if you're in Europe, you're going to assume that a black guy coming up there might try and rob you. And people have asked me, they're like, why is there so much crime in America? And I'm just like, I feel like it's more of what America shows on TV. It's not really who you are. And they're like, oh, okay, because you're actually complete opposite in what I would think.
Well, and there's the crime is relative too. So how many people do we have in prison for possession of marijuana or possession of drugs in general?
You go to the West Coast and people do it walking outside like it's nothing. So I'm just, you get a different perspective on everything in life, on people, on drugs, on just how people are raised, and just their economy. It's just, people pretty much they pretty much poop on us. Like when I go to Europe, they're like, "Man, how about Trump?" They just keep asking me about Trump.
Like, I'm like your best friend with them.
Like I know him. Like, you do track and field, you know Trump. And I'm like, most people in America have different views. He's one of the older guys. He's one of those 60-year-old guys who, they might start instilling hate or like kind of just their views from that time. But I feel like America's going in the right direction. So I just try and tell them, like, that's Donald Trump. He actually lost a popular vote for the people.
I think the American people are going in the right direction. Yeah. I think a lot of it helps to just back out of the media. Like we haven't had like cable television in our house for like 6 years.
Yeah,
so I don't know what goes on in the world, And when I do hear something, I can go out and find it and research it myself and get both sides of it,
Well, I feel like with things in the media, especially in 2019, you could find a viewpoint and argument for everything.
Yes.
So literally, like they were saying, if you watch CNN or Fox 8 or a certain show, you're basically on a different planet in regards to viewpoints, because you have someone pushing what they believe in and their values of their station onto you. So I feel like it's at the same time, it's all about niche. It's about audience. Kind of like how track and field, how you said you would know someone, but you might not know someone else. Yeah. You might know a viewpoint watching Channel 8, but you might not have the same viewpoint if you watch Channel 19 or something like that.
And the fact is, you've traveled a ton for track and field. I traveled a ton for Highland Games, and I got to meet people from all over the world. And I tell young kids coming up that that's one of the most important things you can do is find a way to get out and see the world and see other cultures. And it started out with me at Highland Games just bouncing around North America, and it's you're out in California, you're up in Calgary, and everybody's the same, but you get to see different. I was born in this little tiny, I was raised in this little tiny hick town, so I got to get out. And you come back now, and sometimes you'll go to a bar and talk to these people who've never left, and it's really hard to relate to them because they honestly just are ignorant of the entire world around them.
Yeah, do you say your viewpoint, or do you just let them go on? Do you, because you've probably seen more or got out more? Like even when you go to California now, when I come back to Ohio, I'm just looking at the trees, the grass. Yeah, it's kind of humid. I'm like, oh my god. In San Diego, there's no humidity, so I could do 4 months of training on my finger throwing discus, and it'll be perfectly fine. I come here for 2 days, almost ripped open a blister.
Really?
How hot it is.
Different change of temperatures, and
your hands holding more moisture, and you have friction coming off your hand. So now you got to train around it. And I'm just like, me and Fager talking. He's like, just tape up your hand. This is what we got to deal with. We forgot about it. It's kind of funny to think about.
Thought about that.
Yeah. So, and then you're getting to know different people who they've grown up with, beaches and palm trees their whole life. So they're going to be completely different. They're growing up around a lot of marijuana. They're going to be different in their brain as well. So it's just, you got to just be open to different people and how they process things, and how things are going to be different on the East Coast versus West Coast as well. And then even further going over to Europe. So that's crazy, man.
What is, speaking of that, what is there... have they loosened standards with like CBD oil and stuff for Olympic athletes?
Yeah, so with track and field, you can't have marijuana in your system like a certain level at the meet. So technically it means you can't be high when you compete. Okay?
Right.
But you can use it for training, you can use it for recovery. I don't really dabble in it.
Great.
I know people who do, and they kind of use it to recover. They'll use it for maybe like medication with pain medication, like getting addicted to opioids. It's like a different view. I didn't even know people were so addicted to prescription painkillers, because in the area I'm from, inner city Cleveland, it's more of like crack, meth, heroin, those type of drugs.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Jay Crawford and Corey Crawford, his son, who's an Olympic Training Center long jumper. His dad was on ESPN announcing, and he was kind of talking about how different football players back in the day would come to the sideline, and they're saying, do you have a concussion? Asking them how many fingers I'm holding up, and they would always hold up 3 fingers. So if you think about it, when they had to get over the concussion and all the bruises, they're getting addicted to opioids and whatnot. And then when you're done with football, you kind of continue to do that. So if marijuana can prevent people from being highly addicted to certain drugs, I feel like that's a benefit, and that can actually help our country. So I'm more of around what's going to help our country medically, mentally as well. You can find different ways for it. So, I mean, anything in moderation is going to be a good thing. So if you can learn how to control it, then I feel like why not, have it happening? It's happening in half of the U.S. and then on the other half, you come back to Cleveland, and it's kind of like people are still going to jail or getting charges for it. I'm just like, you can literally do the same thing on the West Coast. Walk around, do whatever you want.
Walk over a line in the sand.
You can literally go to the store, buy whatever you want, this, and the third. But in Ohio, people are still serving time.
We're sponsored. The show's sponsored by Warrior CBD, and I've smoked before. It's not a big deal, but that's not my preferred method. I love the CBD oil because I take a dropper under my tongue at night. It puts me to sleep immediately. I sleep all through the night. I wake up refreshed and rested, and I don't ache. And it's funny because they sell CBD oil at all these stores in the area, but it's junk. It's not full spectrum. There's no THC in it. It's basically just a scam.
I feel like they want to wait till the pharmaceutical companies come in and pretty much monopolize it. So I feel like that's why even marijuana became legal in the West Coast, because now they realize they can monopolize it and make money off of it. And that's what you see a lot of people getting into the marijuana business. Yeah. And I feel like it's only a matter of time before it's here. So, like, if you actually wanted to make a lot of money, you should probably start getting into doing that.
I get it from Warrior. Warrior is Lady Nancy, who runs the company, is fantastic, and she works with mostly judo, jiu-jitsu, MMA fighters. But
they probably need it.
It's so awesome. You can contact her online, and she's the one, and it's a huge company, and she's the one who gets back to your social media and says, "Oh yeah, you need this, this, and this." And
that's crazy.
My mom's using it for her dogs that are crazy, but I'm glad to see that they've loosened the standards on you guys for
you just can't be high on the meat, pretty much. And it's kind of like that's how it should be. You should. I mean, some people can use it for benefit. Like I heard different reviews on it. You can kind of lock in more and also do different side effects or whatever. So I'm glad that at least for a drug, it levels the playing field. Even when you think about performance enhancing drugs that they're not allowed, it's because the playing field would be uneven. So in that regard, I'm glad they have rules in place, and I'm glad that people aren't being penalized. Like in the NFL, you pretty much lose your whole contract. You get caught with marijuana. Right. It's kind of like, but in the NBA, it's completely different. Like they're more lax on the rules, kind of like more how track and field is. And I would just love to see that, because now you're not holding people back. Sure. Especially with a law that's being passed throughout the U.S. So
times have changed.
Even when you said your mom was using it, I think about even my parents and the stigma. Like, they're not really educated on it. We had a whole argument about it. And we were pulling different points of views, and their points of views were so outdated. If you think about science, how it usually changes with the mindset of the people during the time culturally. You could see how back in their time they actually used science to prove that marijuana was bad for you. Just so that until evil. America could catch up to selling it, and then now America's telling you the same drug is good for you now. And I feel like that's more of a bigger picture of they can sell the marijuana now, but that's more a conspiracy theory.
Well, and your old man was a cop too, so that makes a difference too. When you're told your whole life this is bad and you've got to fight it, it's kind of hard to change that theory.
That's crazy.
So when you're training, you're living in San Diego?
Yep.
How's that?
Center, Chula Vista. So you have the weather's pretty much 70 degrees.
Perfect.
To 85, maybe even 90 sometimes, year round. In the wintertime, it might drop to 60 every so often, but that's like really good training weather. So when you come from Kent State, like one of the flaws that me and Fang will always talk about with Kent State and northern schools are you're always indoors for the discus. It's very hard, and the javelin, I would say it's even harder for the discus because it's more surface based and like flight patterns. So when I came out to Chula Vista, I'm like, I can train all year round like the Southern boys. So when I remember when I played second at NCAAs my senior year, I was kind of just disappointed because I'm like, I've been outside for maybe 2.5 months. These guys have been outside for like 6 months. You know, if you think about how much training and connectivity you can have with an implement, this is completely different. So going out to Chula Vista, I was able to get that same type of feeling. And you see that 6 meters. So I'm like, I preach that you should, get out and have good weather. It just makes it hard on staying in Ohio because I would like to come back and train with Fang every so often, especially with Daniil, and get a good group going. But it's like the weather, like, man, come on. So
my son had one meet this year over 50 degrees. One meet.
That's horrible. Like, I just don't.
And it might have been like 59.
Right.
You know,
there's no way you can get loose and drop a big throw. Like,
no.
I just loosened up off of weather alone. I started hitting better positions. So imagine just being in the cold. Like, that's not going to fly at all. You're going to have to, do so much to overcome that. And that's fine too, but at the same time, you're lowering your potential and progress at the same expense. So,
it's got to be hard to recruit kids. I mean, if you're coming from Florida or Alabama and, Fang wants you to come to Kent State, that's why Jamaica amazes me.
So Daniil's different because I remember she will always, she hates the heat, though. So for some reason, she always talks about how she loves Kent, but at the same time, I remember her saying, it does get a little old when you're like, winter should be over and it's still snowing.
It's April and it's still snowing.
You're like, why is it still snowing? So you kind of, die by the double-edged sword. She likes the cold weather, but she just really doesn't want it to be too hot, to be honest. Once you're in Jamaica and you're just sweating every day.
Right.
That's kind of like when I went to the Racing Grand Prix, I was just annoyed of sweating. Like, I'm just like, all right, let me stay in the hotel all day.
Right.
And you're not really outside. You're not really being active. You're just cooped up in a room. So
yeah. I'm bouncing down to Key West next week, which is basically the Caribbean.
Okay.
And it's gonna be 88 degrees, 90 degrees. I'm okay with it. I hate winter so much that when I go down there, I'm just like, I'm ready. Just give me some heat.
It should be a good time. Like, I remember a few weeks ago I went to Peru for the Pan Am Games, and I was just surprised it was cold.
Yeah.
I assumed because when I went to Medellin, it was around the same time in Colombia for the Junior Pan Am Games, got bronze there. I was assuming it's going to be warm because it's in South America, but I guess Peru is more south of the equator.
You don't think of it that way, right?
Like, we get there, I think I'm on the plane already, and then we get a message from the U.S. Olympic Committee. They're like, hey, make sure you bring coats. I'm already on the plane. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a cold one. I think in the village we didn't even have heat in the actual rooms, so I wasn't really cold. But if you think about it's full Olympic sport panel, so you're gonna have women, smaller athletes and stuff. They were freezing. I was fine, but I just did not expect it to be 50 degrees in Peru.
And you're from Solon, so you understand a little bit what cold actually is.
Yeah, I have a little backbone of resiliency, so I'm like, it's not bad. If I'm competing against the Jamaicans and they're cold, that's kind of cool, actually. It might be an advantage for me.
Right.
So that's how I saw it. But
so tell me a little bit about Pan Ams. You end up with the bronze, which happy about that, or?
My season has been an up and down roller coaster with injuries, and I told you what happened with my father.
Yeah.
So me bouncing back at the Pan Am Games and getting a medal there. I would say I told you I got junior Pan Am bronze, and I really feel like this is a senior team. Let me take over and at least get a medal. I was able to produce the same medal. I wanted to upgrade the medal,
right?
But it wasn't in the cards, so I can't pretty much. I can't be mad at myself. I was able to get bronze. I got on the podium. I started to think what if I got fourth, this and the third. I'm happy with what happened.
It's better to get bronze at Pan Ams and make that Olympic team and get after it.
Exactly. So in track and field, senior medals are big too. So at NACAT Games, I got bronze. Pan Am Games, got bronze again. So that's my second senior team medal. Junior team medals really don't even matter anymore. So I was just glad I was able to do it at Pan Am's. If you think about people's rosters, people's records, when I look online, even the Wikipedia page, the Pan Am Games are a big thing, actually.
Absolutely.
So I didn't realize how big they were until after. Team USA actually had a feature article on me that just came out a few days ago when I was in Peru. I thought that was pretty cool. So I didn't really even know that the Pan Am Games were so big. So, I was super appreciative. I was blessed and honored to take home the medal and stand on the podium for America. So we had the two Jamaicans and me. And I feel like that was a good, good show we put on. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. What is the plan leading up to Japan? I mean, what do you have? Do you have a set pattern in mind? How you want to do this, or?
I was thinking back. I hurt my groin when I was around 4.4 speed. We were doing a lot of sprints. Yeah. And
4.40?
Yeah. We were rolling 4.445.
4.40 at what? 265?
Yeah. So 260. But if you think about throwers, I usually race long jumpers and I race javelin throwers. I did this thing on my page where I was racing different events.
My wife and I were watching you sprint last night. And I'm like, look at this motherfucker.
Yeah, you probably see me just working on technique. I wasn't actually sprinting, but we did. I did a race against a few jab throwers, and now even the foreign jab throwers are trying to challenge me in the races because it's kind of we want to see who's the fastest. I feel like an event that I could have been good at would be the javelin as well, right? Because it seems like they're not even taking the full approach with speed, except for the Germans. They're pretty fast.
Yeah.
They use a lot of speed in their approach. But I feel like it's underutilized in America, speed. So you see javelin throwers are usually bigger guys in America, but if you go to Europe, those are like, they kind of look like sprinters, kind of fine-tuned. And I feel like that's why also the world's ahead of javelin right now anyways. But I work on sprints around like 4.4, 4.5 speed. So at that time, I hurt my groin getting up to the top end, and we started making my sprints longer. And now looking at hindsight, my sprint should have been kept around 20 meters. I felt like they should have been kept around 20 meters. It didn't happen. So I feel like for next year, I have more insight on how to prevent injuries. Because at that time, I was dropping 68 meters, 70 meters easy when I was fully healthy. I remember I came back from my glute tendon strain for 2 weeks and threw 66, 67 at Triton at my season opener. So I was like, I know this is going to be a really good year. I couldn't foresee me straining my groin tendon again. Yeah. So I was talking to Fang in practice 2 days ago, and he was saying, since I missed the fall training with the glute tendon strain on the squat, it's kind of like I got too explosive to hold the base that I that we instilled. So for next year, I'm going to stay healthy, make sure I have a big strength base. So when I turn into a Ferrari, my body doesn't give out on me.
100%.
Yeah, I remember I was hitting positions like of if you think about running, you kind of have to hit flexibility positions too, and then push all the way through. And I was in position, I was like, I've never felt this fast before.
Yeah.
So and then I just broke. So for next year, we're definitely going to make sure the plan is set in stone. It's a good plan, more comprehensive, so that I'm not just healthy for 2 weeks and I throw 66 and then go to Europe banged up and throw 64 at all the diamond leagues and the big meets. I can actually produce 67, 68 at the diamond leagues.
Where the money is.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopping off a plane with a bad groin, 22-hour flight and travel, you're kind of just like, your body's not going to move at all, even if you expect it to move. So I was more locked in mentally. So I was even thinking in my head, how did I throw 64 over there? And Fang was like, well, you were just locked in mentally. And then when you weren't there mentally, when my father passed, my body was there a little bit more. So I was able to come through with emotion and kind of, hone in on things. So for next year, we're going to have a lot of hindsight. We're going to have a lot of experience in how to progress your meet. I would say for this year, before USA's, I went to Budapest. And that came, I threw 70 in practice. I'm like, all right, let's go to Budapest. Now I'm more of an experienced thrower. I'm like, all right, I threw 70 in America at practice. All right, let's have 3 American meets. Drop 70 in one of those meets. Then we could possibly go to Europe to a big meet. And if the body's feeling bad, we're just going to stay in America. And we might pick and choose our meets. So I want to, for the Olympic year, I'm going to come back stronger. Mentally, I'm going to be on my A game. I remember for my first year pro where I threw 68, the year before, I got second in NCAAs, and I got passed up on my last throw. And that was something that rung in my brain at every practice. I remember I thought, because I got the clap going and everything, and I just got outclassed because the guy was a 2016 Olympian. I believe he went to 2012 for Croatia, too. The foreigners are a little bit older, too. So he's like 6'7".
Seen it all.
Yeah, he's 25. I'm talking about Felipe Malovic. He outclassed me. So I was like, let's make sure that never happens again. And now you can see our progress where mine shot up. And you can see like that loss really hurt me. So it was kind of like not really a loss, but a lesson. Right. So for this year, I don't really consider this season as a loss because I've thrown further than anybody has thrown in like a long time anyway. So
and you've gone through all the stresses with your father and everything else.
Yes. So I'm just like, I feel like I can handle more than what's even being shown. I remember my coach, even the coach in Chula Vista, was saying, you handle those stresses like a grown man. Like I don't even think I can handle that this way at your age. So that's where the quote says, "Nobody cares, work harder." That's where no one's going to care about what happened in your life. People are going to be sad, but you still have to make your own name. You have to write your own pen. How do you bounce back from things? So I would say this year was filled with injuries and mentally kind of being weird. Still top 10 in the world. So for next year, you eliminate those distractions, which everything in life is a distraction if you think about it in a certain way. You eliminate those. You're stronger in how to handle those distractions. You heal up mentally. Your body heals up. And now you're going to be resilient, strong. You're going to be the force that you want to be. So, and I want to compete more in America, too. because I feel like all the big meets are in Europe,
Yep.
and people were like messaging me online saying we miss you competing in America, because with my injuries I could only go to the Diamond League meets and the big meets in Europe so I can make money.
Sure.
And usually I'll use the American meets to fine tune me and like put on a show for the crowd. People are going crazy. They're starting to like throwing. I feel like this year I wasn't able to do that just so I could work around injuries. So for next year, I definitely want to get my name going again and kind of not just be a name in Europe. Make sure I throw for America. Make sure the people back home, know me, and they know I love the sport, and you're pouring back into the sport as well. So
I love the idea of expanding that base, and I think that's something that young athletes don't understand enough of. So you see these guys who they go to maybe their parents are taking them to some huge sports specific training center, and they've got them running through rope ladders, doing all these crazy stuff that you see on NFL Preview Sunday.
Oh my God!
When they should be doing the stuff that's going to make that base of the pyramid so big that they can handle that stuff when they get older, and they need it. They need to fine tune things, and that's, if you can. I love the fact that even now at the level you're at, you're looking at dropping and expanding the base further to make that pyramid even higher. It makes total sense. I wish more people would look at it that way. I think it's a great strategy. It's you want to get to the point where, you've got 68 in your pocket, even on the shittiest day in a 22-hour flight, and then when you feel good, you've got that 70 meters.
Yeah, so I remember, since I'm left-handed, I'm usually in a deficit for the meet. Probably depends on the wind. It could be anywhere from 1 meter to 5 meters or whatever. So that just means I have to make sure I'm in good shape. And I remember talking to Daniel Stahl. He was like, Reggie, just make sure you throw far in all winds, and you'll be able to overcome anything. Yeah. And I was able to do that last year. And if you think about, that's because I had a strong base. I came from Kent State programming, where at Kent Fang, like, I was pretty strong. Like, I benched 475. I was 22 at the time. 475, deadlift 700, clean 405, snatch, I want to say maybe like 315. That was probably my weakest lift. But I kind of used the snatch to fill out, kind of like discus, where I'm just doing it more for movement base. And I was pretty strong. And then coming to Chula Vista, where we worked on flexibility and kind of the pro mindset of let me expand the 1% of myself. So if I can do small things like having a bigger base, eating properly, getting enough hours of sleep, then that can help me go to the next level. Those are things that I can do better. If I can not stay up late and hang out with friends, that's going to help me throw further in the season. That's going to save my legs. So you have to realize that some things in life are detrimental to your health, to your mental health, and to your physical health, and they all add up in the end. And that's what last year was about, and that's what this year is about, and that's what the next year is going to be about. So we're going to keep instilling the same thing, how to make myself better. So this past year I made myself fast, like super fast. I kind of lost the strength, so for the next year I want like a happy medium. I've always loved to be powerful, where you speed and strength, a combination. And I feel like that's me in a nutshell. So you can move fast in the ring, you time it up with some technique, and then you can go a long way. So the little fine-tuned tweaks that are going to do it. And that's what's so cool about the fact that you're so young, is that you could fine-tune and tweak for 3 more Olympics. So when I threw the 68 throw, they were saying that's 13th all-time, left-handed world record. No one has really done that in a few years, and those guys did it when they were older. So they did it with like a strong wind. They were also right-handed. They were around 28 years old, and that's why when I look at even companies like Nike, who they're on the bubble with sponsor me, and they would like to offer like a clothing deal or a bonus gear deal, and my agent's like, don't sign that. We feel like you're worth more, and they're kind of like how college is trying to not show you your worth. So I stick with Ironwood, who's a track and field club for throwers. I said piecing together different companies on your logos and on your branding for jerseys, just to kind of compensate for the money that you would get with Nike. And I really feel like that can go a long way. So and what's nice is with social media now, you can promote yourself. You don't need, Nike's always been there for track and field athletes. Maybe not the way that they could or should be, but if you're top 8 in the U.S., you're going to be on a pretty good deal for sprinting. But if you think about it, if you're top 8 in the world, they're still considering giving you a bonus deal or a clothing deal. That's kind of, they see things differently. Obviously with broadcasting, they still see things differently.
Sure.
So
and that probably pushes a lot of it. You know?
What's
going to be out there?
The kids realize that they like seeing throwing, they like seeing athletes. So that's why I started sprinting around, racing people.
Yeah.
I'll start doing like giveaways and challenges, and people really engage in it. So maybe it'll catch up with Nike, maybe it won't. I'm just gonna still focus on what I can control. And that's me throwing far. That's me focusing on a good plan. That's having a good team around me and doing the things I can control.
Making an Olympic team and getting a medal.
Yeah, so I feel like even in my next pursuit, so I want to do more investment-wise. Because track and field is a lot of fast money as well, so you have to know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I have pretty good habits with money, so I've always, I remember when I was younger, just saving up money. What do I do with it? No, I'm going to save and keep going. So now it's on a bigger scale, so you kind of decide where you want to go with your money. And I feel like that can help me in the future, too, set up a different avenue. So I said possibly with the NFL, and then even furthering things on, the real estate side or the investment side, just trying to expand my wheelhouse and set up my future. So
see, that's fantastic because what 24-year-old thinks about that shit? Very few.
Well, one who doesn't want to not have any money. So
right.
We come from a family without money, and then you see my mom. She was like the person in our family who actually had money because she always had a job and she had good habits with saving. So she kind of changed the mindset of our family and kind of pushed me to be different.
Yeah.
She always wanted me to be better than her. Yeah. So I was one of the first people to get a college degree. Obviously, I'm doing a lot of things that my family has never seen. Been in, I want to say, maybe 40 to 30 different countries. So amazing. I remember my mom was saying she hasn't even been, I think she's been to Jamaica maybe.
Right.
And she was saying that's crazy that you get to do that. And it's really probably because of her, because she was super resilient.
Yeah.
She was super focused on, I had to have straight A's in school. So, and I had to be the top athlete. So it was always high standards. And that's what I want to instill in my kids. That's what I want to pass on to the next generation of people who follow me. The young kids always asking questions
But look at how well adjusted you are and how well you've done for yourself with a mother who pushed you. And I think some parents are just afraid to push their kids.
Yeah,
that's the stuff I insist out of my son.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to hurt these kids. They're resilient and they're going to benefit from that.
Well, I feel like you need to kind of research what you want to push them to, but also you want to be there for them and make sure you're going through it with them as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what a lot of parents forget. They might want to push their kid to be the next greatest, but I'm if you think about athletes, that's the 1%. And I don't know who I was talking to last week, but they were saying, as you started track your junior year, who would have known you could be here? That's why when I see people starting, your son said he started as a freshman, I'm the ceiling is really so high for you if you just put the work in and you decide to be diligent and you focus on one thing. If you think about the pro people in Europe, they're really pro. They make pretty good money from their federations, and that's just what they do. So if you think about you competing against them and you're treating it as a hobby, they're over there treating it as a full job. This is their NFL.
Yeah.
So if you take the same mindset, you can be competitive. If you think about D2 athletes versus D1, their D1 athletes are treating it like it's their job.
Yep.
D2 athlete, if you decide to treat it like it's your job, you have a Sean Donnelly who threw the hammer throw, and now he's throwing it professionally because he treats it like it's his job.
Yeah,
it's no longer a hobby. I don't do it just when I feel feel like I want to blow off some stress.
Yeah.
I want to be the best in the world. So you have people just trying to maximize potential in every way. Film, the health of their body, all of that stuff. So I remember you were saying, talking about how you can be groomed by your coach as well. So I get messages online about athletes asking about performance enhancing drugs, and in my mind I'm like, who told you to do this? Oh, my coach recommended it. And in my head,
they recommended to ask you what they should be doing, or what?
Their coach recommended if you want to go to the next level, you should do steroids or growth hormones or something. And in my mind, I'm like, do you know what I do? He's like, well, we assume that you probably do it. I'm like, I eat a lot of food. I get sleep.
I mean, look, we all know that they're out there, and we all know that they're part of the sport. But I don't think it should ever be. It's a decision that each athlete makes, and everybody's adults. But it certainly should never be a coach telling you to do that.
I feel like it shouldn't be the blind leading the blind.
No.
In my head, I'm like, what would your coach even know about being a great athlete and what he would need? So I'm like, you have me as your, like you say, oh, we feel like we thought you would be on it, you know, this, that, and the third. I'm like, why don't you just ask me?
Yeah.
Like, you see, do I ever? I mean, I guess, you know, steroids is you wouldn't broadcast it, I guess, online or whatever. But you kind of see how people are. You really never know who does it. But I'm more of preaching like the faith with God, talking about maximizing your blessings. I want to be on a straight and narrow path. I want to maximize my talents. If I feel like I'm athletic, I don't need performance enhancing drugs. I can get some sleep, eat properly, and train hard, and overcompensate for, you know, their steroids or whatever. So.
And that's first of all, what you just said there about eating right, training hard, resting properly. I think most people jump to that level. And look, I am not against performance enhancing drugs in any sport, in any walk of life. You're adults, do whatever you want. But I think people don't maximize all the things they can maximize before they get to that level. So they're a shitty athlete. Yeah. They're not disciplined. They're not doing things right. Cuss. Oh yeah, this is NC-17 rating. I just figured
we can cuss. Okay.
So they do all things right. They do all things wrong, and they think that now they're going to start taking testosterone. All of a sudden, they're going to throw They're going to throw 68 meters. It's not ever going to happen. You're just going to be a shitty guy on steroids.
Yeah, you're just going to be hairy. Like,
yeah, right.
You should ingrain the right habits first. So if you think about the steroid era with all the throwers back in the day, they were also really good athletes. They were the best of their time. Yeah. And then when steroids came out, they took steroids and went to the next level. I feel like you should not, especially you're a high school athlete talking about taking steroids. I don't even consider taking steroids now. Why would you even think of doing it?
To be honest with you, a high school kid, the shit that's running through their system naturally right now, people are paying steroids. Right. You're never going to have that kind
I'm like, if I would have known this, I would have been working twice as hard in the weight room at the time, knowing that that's my window to get strong.
Yes.
And luckily, I was in football training. We had a pretty advanced football system at Solon where we had a good strength coach and we had a good phase on our body.
Solon's solid, man.
Right. So it really helped me. And I developed. So I was a year young for my year two. So when I came back to school, I was seeing all the guys who were some of the best athletes in our school, and they were all like 5'5", and I realized like you can also have God-given ability and size and this, that, and the third, and you can have hard work, and everybody has a different wheelhouse that they can use. Yeah. So if you're a high school athlete and you work hard and you're diligent and you watch film and all that, you're probably going to be better than most high school athletes, and that's going to put you on a pedestal on a level that you want to be. So,
you know, the other thing is I get parents who come in and they said, well, I'd like to get him in here, but he's lifting with his high school team. Okay, lift with your high school.
Yeah, do both.
He's basically on steroids right now. We could lift him 3 times a day, and he's going to get super jacked. Yeah. You know, now if I did that, I'd be a wreck on the floor. You know, but 16-year-old kid can do anything and get strong.
Exactly. That's why you need to put the game system down. I remember my mom had a talk with me, and I told you she said there's no money for school, and that really put a fire into me. I think that was probably the day I just put video games down. Yeah. I love video games. I still love them now. But I had to put them down in that window so that I could start training harder, start getting outside more. So I would say kids, instead of trying to do all these complex lifting as a young child, get outside and play. Get out there and do stuff. Like that was like I played football, kickball, all that stuff when I was outside. We were always active. If you're the fastest guy in your neighborhood, most likely you're probably going to be one of the top 5 guys on your team. Yeah. And then you're going to just keep progressing and getting better and better. So challenge yourself. Put the games down.
It's so bad because we don't have physical education in the schools anymore. So I get kids in here who can't do a push-up, they can't jump rope, they can't jump with 2 feet. You know, they can't skip. And it's like now I went from being a strength coach to being a phys ed teacher for a lot of these kids. You know, we had to revamp our entire athletic. We used to call it the sports performance class, and now we call it the Agoge class. And Agoge was when Spartans were 7 years old, they took them from their mother and put them in the Agoge.
I see the 300 painting.
Right. So that's what we call it now, because I've taken these kids and they run, they do push-ups, they do kettlebell swings, they jump rope, they do air squats, you know, because I've got to teach them all those things before I can put a bar on their
basics.
back. Yes. Make crazy. That base bigger, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. That's something that needs to change. Kids definitely need those programs to get outside. Like I had the YMCA. I was in Muni League football. I remember I started football a year early because I wanted to just get out there and play. So we lied about my age just so I could get out there with the bigger boys. And that was probably actually helpful because my whole life you've been going against older people.
Yeah.
And then finally when you redshirt your sophomore year, you catch up in age and maturity and all that stuff.
Sure.
And it kind of put a chip on your shoulder because you're always going against the bigger athletes and you're at the same size as them. And then next year you become bigger. But it teaches you that you can be better than what you are.
Yeah.
You're always pushing yourself to the next level. There's always someone ahead of you. So I love that aspect.
I'm psyched, man. I think you've got the right attitude. I'm going to be looking so forward to watching these Olympic trials and watching your season progress and seeing you in Tokyo. I'm so psyched, because I know in my heart of hearts that you'll be there. My boy Kibwe down in Florida is training his ass off. I know he's going to be there.
Yeah, he just announced that he's going to train this year.
He announced on this show.
Yeah, well, that's
he was the first
that's pretty. Yeah, because he was one of the first guys to throw far and hammer in like a while. So to see him,
he is dialing it in, like
I
mentally and everything. Like we talk all the time, and he's the things he's reading, and I don't know if he's got an email he puts out called Fortuitous Friday, where he's kind of just goes over his week, and it's he's dialed in too, man. I'm gonna be so psyched to see you guys there.
He definitely has a mindset ahead of that's already in place, I would say. So he knows, he has experience.
Yep.
He might be older, but he also has a smart mind to like kind of navigate the throwing world as an older man. So he's gonna have that old man strength too.
Yep.
That hammer strength.
You should see where he trains. So
IMG?
He's at IMG, right? Mm-hmm. Who they have got like 4 beautiful weight rooms. Like when I was down there, I almost didn't want to use them because they were too nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go out there and
trains visit. Under the bleachers, though. Mm-hmm. So under the bleachers, there's a power rack and a bench he slides in, and just some old shitty bumper plates and puds. And it's like 100 degrees.
Why does he go to the weight room?
Because he's a fucking samurai, and he's from
Ashland,
grinding.
Ashland likes to grind. They like things to be dirty. They like things to be, crazy. A lot of screaming, yelling. That's why I'm trying to get my teammates ready to go against Ashland. I'm like, they're screaming over here. You see this? Put this way. Like, come on. They love this shit.
And that's what he's down there in this cave with no lights, 100-degree temperatures, just grinding it out, man.
It's like when you think about the millennials this generation going to war.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a scary idea. Somebody was telling me about I guess like Korean soldiers train in a complete blackout conditions.
Right.
So their idea of black light is completely different than ours.
Right.
So I'm like, God, we need to get these millennials on a different path. Like the older generation, you could put a gun in their hand or go, kill somebody. Yeah. Now you put a gun in our hand and we're just like, why would we do that?
Right.
We're like,
you're in San Diego though. Go down to Coronado and sit on the beach and watch those guys go through buds. You'll feel better about them.
That's true, but
they still have them out there.
If they're you can't tell somebody to put down their phone and start, fighting war. Like it's going to be completely different.
So we just started a tactical program here. That's what these cards are, and we've had different branches of the military come in, and we're getting together agreements to work with their people, and they're getting like 66 recruit, and 40 of them can't pass the basic PT test to get into like the National Guard.
Wow!
And so that's where we're at. That's what we're going to be working with, and it's a lot of video games, it's a lot of phones, it's a lot of not having a phys ed program in school, kids not doing the right things and going out for football or going out for, track or whatever,
For some reason, kids have the idea that you should only go out for one sport.
Yeah.
I feel like what really made me the best athlete was I wrestled. I knew how to use body weight. So even when I remember we would wrestle against shot putters at practice, and Fang would be like, hey, Reggie, don't get hurt. Hey, Mike, don't get hurt. This guy's 300 pounds, and I throw him on the ground pretty easily. It's because you have a background. You know how to use your leverage. You know how to do different things. So you should never limit yourself. Like, I feel like track and field was the last thing I did, a part of the puzzle. Like, I played football most of my years, and I played a little bit of basketball, and I played wrestling, and then I played track, and it's kind of like you did everything you don't play track, you do track, but it was kind of like the end piece of putting everything together to make me the athlete that I am.
It's just like the Russians going through that basic GPP school where they did everything, you know? And they're like,
Stefan Frohnholm, he could literally do everything he wanted. Wolfgang Schmidt was a specimen himself. Mac Wilkins was a specimen. You look at these people, they're like glorified bodybuilders that can move and rotate and spin and have all the power output as a power lifter as well. So you can't do that only doing track and field. Like, you have to sprint, you have to jump, you have to work. Like, my vert is probably one of my nicest things. My broad jump, those are things that I work on a lot.
Yeah.
So you have to get out there and play. You have to make things fun. You have to have motivation and vision. So I feel like one of my tools is visionary. Like, I set goals all the time. Like, I love setting goals. I'm a goal setter. That's how I view myself. I'll set a small goal. All right, let me wake up in the morning, no texting. No, don't get it on my phone. And then now your mind's in a good space. All right, so let me have 8 throws at 65 meters. If I don't have 8 throws at 65, I'm going to go into the net. I'm going to take 15 more throws until it feels perfect. I'm going to go out into the sector, and I better throw 65 on this next throw, or I'm going to have to repeat the process. My feet are going to hurt. I'm going to be tired. So it's telling myself you have a window to do something. You're setting a goal. When you complete the goal, now you can move on to the next task. You also have to be smart with it, because you can't beat your body to the ground. You have to give your time. All right, well, I have 3 chances to do this. I can't take 8 times to do this. So if I don't do it in the 3, I'm done. And tomorrow I'm going to hit myself harder, and I'm going to recover over the night so I can come back stronger. So that's how I view things.
That's our whole thing with our make your discipline operational. Mm-hmm. Take that discipline and put it towards something like that, and know that I don't have to text in the morning, and I knew I have to make this goal today, and that's it. I think if more people did that and just focused their energies toward things like that in all aspects of their life, they would improve everything. You know,
if you wake up, don't even touch your phone.
Yes,
make your breakfast. Drink
enjoy your life.
Right. Drink 2 8-ounce glasses of water. Stretch a little bit. Then check on your phone.
Yes.
You're going to be so much more productive. Your brain is just going to be on a different level. You're going to feel positive. You're going to feel like, let me get some things done today. Let me not sit around.
Yeah.
So that's where you're just trying to maximize that 1% and make yourself better. So if anybody are thinking of a way to become a better person, like, just limit distractions in your life. I think on a perspective greater than yourself, what can I do to be better? And I'm pretty sure you don't really need the best mentor in the world. You just think about things that you know are hindering you and holding you back, and stop doing them. Like,
man, I love it. Hey, I want to thank you for coming in today. Anything else you want? You want plug your your Instagram and stuff so they know where to find you. And
King Jagers online. KingJagers. Reggie Jagers III. Follow me online. Nice to meet you guys. Nice to talk to you. I appreciate coming out to meet you.
We'll do this again. We'll do it again. Yeah. Anytime you're in town, you want to come out and do it.
It's an hour drive, but I mean, I see you have a good facility, so I'd love to come in and do like the stroke stuff. Yeah. That's what me and Fang, I like to do myself in Chula to come here and do different things, build the strength in different ways. I used to work with the football coaches in the I would say in the off season. They come and work with Fang in the in season and kind of give me that different type of training too, because football, you work a lot of back, shoulders, and explosive things, and then you can work on the Olympic lifts with Fang and kind of do like a whole encompassing thing. Come here, might pick up the stones, work on the core, you can just change it up, challenge your brain. Always trying to challenge something in my body every day as a goal or whatever. So,
let's do it, man. I'm ready.
I'm down.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. We will do this again sometime for sure. And good luck this year. And
nice to meet you.
Looking forward to seeing you in the Olympics.
Okay. Hey, you gotta speak it, put it out there in the universe, and it'll happen. So I remember for USA's last year, I envisioned the whole year that I was going to win and throw the big throw. And then when it happened, it was kind of second nature. I remember my last practice, I'm watching a throw go in the air, and I see a hawk carrying a fish over me. And that moment, it was eerie, and I'm just like, you're either the fish or you're the hawk. Just go out there and do it. So listen to your body, listen to what's going on, and lock in, man. You'll get wherever you want in life. So
I love it.
Yeah.
This has been the Refined Savage. See ya.